Hello and welcome everybody to this week's edition of the Travel Coffee Break. I'm Alistair Mackenzie and here I am. And joining me this week, Malcolm Ginsberg, our regular aviation expert. But this week's a little bit different because Malcolm, you're taking something of a busman's holiday. I think you're actually right now in Vietnam, in a hotel room at the middle of the night, which is why it's a bit gloomy out there. But tell us about why you're there.
It's not a busman's holiday. It's a proper, very serious press trip where I left Heathrow. I think it was Tuesday afternoon about 2:30. I arrived here this morning at 9 o'clock. I'd been on a tour of part of Hanoi during the day, and when I finished with you, it's now 8:30. I'm going to have some dinner in the hotel, so that's been my activities. Quite a full 24 hours. You must agree. I am here until tomorrow evening. I'm meeting the general manager of Vietnam Airlines tomorrow evening for supper. They're then taking me to the airport, which is a fair way out of town, in fact. And at 1:30 in the morning, that's Friday morning their time, I shall board the Boeing Dreamliner, and at 7:30 in the morning British time, interestingly enough, I shall be home. 12 hours in the air.
That's flying into Heathrow, as you say, Heathrow Hanoi, and this is their. Is it a new route or is it just a new aircraft on it?
They started the London route probably 3 years ago from Gatwick. They were persuaded, some may call it bribed, it's not the right word to use. They were persuaded to use Heathrow, so they didn't actually break the contract with Gatwick, as far as I understand. But so they're still having to pay for that. But they moved to Heathrow. It hasn't made that much of a difference so far. With the number of passengers from what I can gather, and we can easily check that with the civil aviation statistics. But there's no doubt there's an enormous potential between Vietnam and the United Kingdom. I've been very impressed. This is, I think, the third time I've been here. Very impressed how this once communist country, if you like, a French colonial outpost, has updated itself to become friendly with the Americans. And the place, in its own way, is booming. There's no question of it.
That move to Heathrow, does that make life easier for them in terms of alliances? Are they a member of any alliance?
Oh yes, they're a member of the Star Alliance. I'm so sorry that I'm getting them all muddled up these days. No, they're a member of SkyTeam, of course, for their French connections. Their first European route was Paris. And it's still probably the major route, but the London route is catching up fast. They're members of SkyTeam, and they use the SkyTeam lounge at Terminal 4.
So if people wanted to, and of course I suppose from the States and Canada it would be quicker to go across the Pacific, but if for some reason somebody wanted to, they could actually gateway through Heathrow and then onto that flight out to Hanoi.
Well, the point about the flight, it's a two-way business. For the UK holidaymakers, it's a wonderful way, a very fine way of getting into Cambodia and Laos, and obviously Vietnam itself, which is a fascinating country. Australia, they go on to, and Indonesia as well. So that's the way in for British tourists and, of course, businessmen. And again, for the thriving middle class here, they want to go to London. London's the capital of the world, no question. And they want to fly into London. The flights have been very, very busy last week because of the schools going back all over the place. Not so busy on my flight. It was pretty empty. It'd be interesting to see what it's like tomorrow night.
This is their, I think I'm right in saying, their first Dreamliner, and it's already fairly notorious, not least because there were all those magnificent photographs and bits of video a couple of months ago in June when we had the Paris Air Show, because this was the aircraft they used to demonstrate that near vertical takeoff.
I'm not that keen on going on aircraft that are doing these fancy things.
You've frozen. Yeah, it looks like Malcolm has frozen, which is a shame, because I wanted to hear what their what their takeoff was like. Malcolm's actually, as you heard, he's on a press trip. He's all the way out there in Hanoi, so he's flown out. He's spending about 24 hours on the ground and then coming back. And I think they actually flew him out premium economy so that he could see what that was like, experience that, and then he's coming back in business class. So that'll be. That'll be very welcome for him. You're back. Yes, you disappeared, and I was filling in. I was just saying that yes, you did the aircraft did that spectacular takeoff. I'm guessing it was a lot more gentle for you, but they flew you out in, I think, was it premium economy?
Yes, it's quite interesting. I did actually lose you, and I've come back again. And what we can do with cyberspace now, and it's absolutely fascinating. Yes, they have a 3-class operation, a very nice looking business class, the latest seats, a premium economy, which is what it is. It's an economy at a premium level. So you're going to have 42-inch seat pitch, nice comfortable seats, plug-in electrics, by the way, so you can plug an English 3-pin plug-in, which is quite useful. But the food, I'm afraid the food is economy. Unlike Air New Zealand, where their premium economy really could better be said to be business class retarded. In other words, they haven't got
business class minus.
Yeah, business class minus. You can't sell that, or you could, I suppose, because that's what it is. It's a big flat tray that you get in business class. And all the food and all the rest of it, but you don't get the stretched out bed. From a personal point of view, the premium economy one that they've got is perfect, because I try not to put the beds flat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, fair enough. So you say 42-inch seat pitch. What would it be if you were in economy?
About 35 inches, I would say.
That's not too bad, is it, these days?
Oh no. There's nothing wrong with it, but they're a bit narrow as well. So you've got 242 rather than 232. It was empty at the back, so people were just sitting wherever it suited. No, it's fine. I mean, you get what you pay for with these things. As I've alluded to. Hopefully I'll be in the business class on the way back, and I'll be able to tell you just exactly what that's like. The airport, by the way, has got a new terminal to it. Very, very, very quick. Last time I came, it took 2 hours to get through passport control and visa. This time, quick look at me, quick look at the passport, not even taking my picture, bang, 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 and I'm into the country. I only came with a roller bag, straight out into the public areas. The only drawback is the walk. They put us on a gate where the old terminal is, and it's a long walk.
However, a walk that I'm guessing you took in a fairly or comparatively refreshed state of mind, because this is a 12-hour flight. But the great strength of the Dreamliner is that you're not at the usual 10,000 feet pressurization. You're at 8,000 feet, which makes the air much more breathable, much more comfortable, and it means you don't get so kind of dried out after the whole process. Did you notice that?
Well, now that you mention it, no doubt about it. I think the figures are 8,000 and 6,000, by the way. But
okay, sorry, okay,
we'll check that between us. But nevertheless, no question of it. I came out fully refreshed. Only one drawback, and this is with the Dreamliner, that if you sit right by the window seat, and I sat with one right at the very front, that's where they put me to start with, by the overlooking the Indies. It was quite noisy, so I moved back because there was space, and I had a three to myself at the back. Much quieter, nice, attentive cabin crew. They're there the whole time, but I'm going to suggest to them that they just want, if they're going to have real competition on the route, which they will get eventually, they've got to. They've improved enormously from 3 years ago. They need to jump another jump. Now they've got the proper airplane.
And how many of these are they going to get? This is the first. So are they going to have a few more added to their fleet and onto different routes?
Very, very curious, and I can't get to the bottom of it. And I don't suppose the guy that I'm going to see tomorrow will be able to answer it. They bought both this aircraft and the Airbus A350. Now, the A350 is wider, doesn't have so much range as the 787. So I don't really know why they bought it. It's a bigger aircraft, but that means they've got two long-haul aircraft now. Most carriers will only have one, unless they're a really big carrier, and they're not that big.
It's strange, isn't it? Because you don't get the economies of scale if you just have the one aircraft, and where you've got the one set of maintenance manuals, the one set of parts, the one. If you suddenly buy Airbus as well, because it's the same thing, really. I mean, as you describe, there are marginal differences, but essentially the A350 is Airbus's version of the 787. It's the I was going to say Tupperware. I don't really mean that, but the carbon fiber.
If you go on to the sort of operational side of things, Airbus allows you to change from it was the A300, A310, up to the 380 and the 350, and of course the very popular 330. But they've all got side sticks, and the change for the pilots is about 3 days, I think. With the cabin crew, they're all rated on both types. Now, having the two aircraft in the fleet, that means that they could run into difficulties. They're going to have quite a few of these aircraft. I mean, they're not small numbers, but you just can't swap them out. When you've got one aircraft type, the British Airways do this quite nicely with the 319s, 320s, 321s. You can swap around.
It'll be interesting to hear what I think you said that you were talking to the managing director, were you, CEO? No.
I'm saying the general manager. Who's the if you like, the working guy. I met him once before, and I asked him about the Wi-Fi, which they will get, but they haven't got it at the moment. So I asked him about it, and he went away and came back and said, "I'm sorry, it's down there. The aircraft's kitted out, but we're not quite there yet." Rather like their films. If you go on, let's say Qatar Airways, they boast about 1,000 films, none of which you probably fancy, but nevertheless they don't talk about it. These people had about 50 films all told. Most of them pretty old. Oh, if they were new, not my type. I decided to get into the right mood for coming over to this part of the world. Thailand, Siam's not far away. So I watched The King and I.
How appropriate. Malcolm, what this week? I've been coming around to aviation news as opposed to your flight news. What's been catching your eye on business travel news when you published it at the beginning of the week?
Well, the question of BTM for this week is quite interesting. In that the Boeing are sort of talking about their new aircraft they can't make up their mind whether it's the 777X or the 777-9. So you're going to hear all those around talking about premium economy. And I'm going to have another attempt to talk to Singapore Airlines, but they're not very helpful these days. They bring in a premium economy, but unfortunately they've got delays on it. So we should see it after Christmas. On the London route, and of course the new small passenger jets that are coming along. There is now probably going to be four of them around by about 2020, and it'll be interesting to see which airline buys what. The CityJet, who operate out of London City Airport, they have become public now and said it's between the Russian jet and the Brazilian jet for their new aircraft.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yep. Which will have the capability, obviously, of flying in, because they've been experimenting, haven't they, just recently, trying to see what aircraft they can get in and out of that of London City, which is a fairly short runway and a steep approach.
It's a very short runway, 1,200 meters. Excuse me. And they also have a 5-degree approach, which is steep. But they do it. Now, the British Airways A318s are specially kitted out to do that, and they've only got the 2 aircraft. Very interesting. The Embraer aircraft that Flybe have are not authorised to use that runway. It was anticipated, perhaps, that CityJet might go for the C series aircraft by Bombardier, the CS series, which is specifically designed for London City Airport, but I think it's probably too big and too expensive for them. As for the Embraer, well, they obviously have experience of other Embraer operators who do use the aircraft out of London City. British Airways being a primary example. I think they've got 15 of them now. So they're very experienced, so Embraer will be experienced. So a new Embraer or a current Embraer would work very well for CityJet, but I suspect that the Russians will do everything possible to try and get their superjet into the airport.
It would be a fantastic showcase for them, wouldn't it?
Yeah, wonderful showcase. It's rather like British Airways flights to New York. Loses money, but it doesn't matter. It really accidentally showcases the whole operation.
I was just looking at your business travel news, and we were talking just now about the Boeing 777X or 9, whichever you prefer. But I'm just putting it up on the screen now because I think one thing that people will recognize it for almost instantly are those enormous winglets that it has. It is an extraordinary looking thing. I noticed, Malcolm, I don't know whether you saw it, but this is just turned up today. It was a Boeing 777 that, rather unfortunately and rather alarmingly, burst into flames on the runway at Las Vegas. Try to find out when it was. It's obviously in the last...
I just had a quick look at it and seeing what it's all about. I'm not sure which 777 this is. They've got 2 variants. One has a German electric engine, which the first aircraft had, and the later ones have all got Rolls-Royce engines. So we don't know. It appears to be an engine.
It does look like an engine fire, doesn't it?
And thank God it was on the ground. I should think the next rush will be American lawyers into the airport to tell everybody to sue British Airways, but there we are.
It triggered a couple of things in my mind. One of them, I did notice that when this came out this morning, there was a rather, shall we say, mischievous tweet from somebody who said, "I look forward to hearing Willie Walsh commending his aircrew, especially in the light of the fact that that half of them at Gatwick are about to take a pay cut." That would be interesting. It puts me in mind of something you've been writing about, which is the British Airways pension. Not that it affects passengers very much, but briefly, what's that about?
Well, basically, British Airways has always paid its staff very generously, and the perks have been pretty generous. I don't think anybody can dispute that. Even if you retired 30 years ago, you've got so many flights a year and firm and standby. So they've been very well looked after. But for the last 10 years, if you've had a shareholding in British Airways, you've never had a dividend. And that has hurt some people who, up until that time, were getting whatever the sum was from BA and was expecting it. That's long gone. And it is to some extent forgotten. You just get on with life. However, the pension itself is not a fixed fund, and it's to do with inflation. And there are 2 government levels which it can be increased. And the government changed the rules for public civil servants, so they were getting the lesser of the two inflation numbers. And British Airways pension people say, "Well, we'll reduce ours as well," and it's gone to court. So we'll have to see what. It's not a very big sum actually, but
it affects morale and mood, doesn't it? And that's one of the things that's always.
Yeah. I mean, what you've got to realise is flight pilots, not just British Airways, would always complain.
Yeah, that makes sense. The other thing that the Las Vegas fire triggered in my mind was a blog which actually came out today by a good coincidence, happy coincidence, from Anna Silver O'Reilly, and her blog is called Mrs. O's Around the World. And he said here, trying to find the actual thing, there it is. And she's just been on that flight safety awareness course with British Airways, and she writes about it. It's a really interesting read because she says, you know, this one was aimed at frequent flyers like herself, and so, you know, nothing was really taken for granted. And she said, I thought I kind of knew it all, as you do, you know, listening to the Yabba and everything else, but actually it opened up a whole pile of very interesting little nuggets of information that she simply hadn't realized. The reason why, for example, here the brace position is adopted, and why you don't want to interlink your fingers, because if you do, it's basically to protect your head from stuff falling down on you. But if it doesn't, it's heavy, you could break your fingers, and if they're interlinked, you could break both of them. Whereas if they're not, then you might have one hand free to be able to still undo your buckle belt, and you know. But it's stuff in that detail, and there's a couple of videos of her trying to open some of these doors, and you know, it's very interesting to see just how heavy they are. And how that needs to be maneuvered. So I would commend anybody to go and take a look at this, because there are quite a few things in there that I didn't know, and I found really quite interesting. Have you ever been on one of these, Malcolm?
No, I haven't, because I suppose, rather like this, Mary, I do an awful lot of flying and didn't think it was necessary. I'll tell you what I'll do. If you'd like to send me the link, I'll write up a piece about it for next week, and the viewers can go to the website and have a look, and they're interested, follow it up. By the way, I didn't really look at this BA thing because I'm very tired, and I'm going to stop in a second.
Yep.
I didn't realize that it was at Las Vegas, in which case I think that's a Gatwick point where they fly to, which will mean that the flight crew there will be grumbling in any case about their wages. Which does indicate that it was probably a 200 aircraft, and therefore it would probably be the General Electric engines. It's quite interesting. It doesn't often happen that a fleet of aircraft comes with two different engines. But for a very long time, carriers tended to have the same make for all them.
Yeah, for the same reason we were talking about earlier, for economies of scale, for maintenance.
I mean, going back to Vietnam again, they've got they haven't got Rolls. They've got Rolls engines on the A350, but they haven't got it on the 787. I just find it a bit strange. I haven't been allowed to get to the top, man. I'm going to say to you at this point, I'm going to leave you if you don't mind.
No, that's fine. I was going to call it a day here anyway, or a night in your case.
Because what we have proved with this, Alistair, that we can do these things like this. And I do hope that we can talk to Etihad between us. We might be able to do something with them, because they have a very fine system. Unfortunately, the people who showed me the system, they decided to change their public relations agencies. So there we are.
All right. Okay, Malcolm. Yeah, get something to eat. Have a bit of sleep, and then we'll see you back here in the UK. But I
must tell you one other thing. As a Londoner, I also pay for the Evening Standard to come on my Kindle. Costs me £1 a week. I'm prepared to do that. It's easier than walking down to the station and getting a free one. But here in Saigon, I have today's Evening Standard, and I'm now going to read it over dinner while I wait for my meal.
Perfect. Okay, Malcolm, thanks ever so much. See you again next week, and to everybody out there, we'll be back.
I'm afraid I'm not available until next Wednesday.
Right. Actually, I'm saying that I can't remember how the schedule's panning out next week, but it may be one of the weeks that we're going to jiggle the time of the show. In fact, I got a feeling it is. I think next week I'm going to be flying with KLM to Amsterdam to see the Air France KLM social media center. So I shall be talking from there. And I think what I had in mind for next week was that I would bump the Wednesday program to Thursday when that's going to happen. But we'll see. Follow the travelcoffeebreak.com blog to see how that's going to pan out. Anyway, in the meantime, from Malcolm in Hanoi and from me in London, so international, it's bye for now.